There's some great news flying into the Charleston International Airport. Today, I talk one-on-one with the CEO of the Charleston International Airport, Elliott Summey, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Elliott Summey, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me back. I miss seeing you, man.
Yes, sir, absolutely. I got to come up and see you at the airport at some point. And speaking of the absolutely. And speaking of the airport, obviously you are the CEO of the Charleston County Aviation Authority, which includes the Charleston International Airport. What's new? What's now at the airport?
We're busy, and which is exciting. We've got folks back. I mean, we're really blessed. When the pandemic hit the whole airline industry really hard. It's hard to social distance on an airplane. And it's hard, a lot of people however you feel about masks, right or wrong, or it's so politicized, vaccines, everything. It's all so political, which is unfortunate because we've seen since the vaccine came out in a real big way in February, March, and April, our numbers have skyrocketed. As a matter of fact, in August and July, we ran above our 2019 number, which was a record for us at the airport. We had a record month. More passengers came through Charleston International in the month of July of this year than the history of the airport, which is no one ever thought would occur. I mean, when I first got here, July of last year, we were on calls with all the airline partners, Southwest and American and Delta, and you name it, United, and it was doom and gloom. The airline industry is not coming back till sometime mid-2023, and we don't know how we're going to survive financially. I mean, it was just doom and gloom. And then when that vaccine came out in January, February, and then the first responder folks got it, and then you started getting to the public. You can see the rate of vaccination and the rate of airline departures out of Charleston International are on the same curve. And it is incredible. The other thing is we're way better than a lot of other airports around the country. I mean, we're running from a recovery rate about 20% higher than the rest of the country. Like I said, there was a week in August that we ran right before Labor Day. We ran 108% of our August of 2019 number, not 2020, but 2019. So it's the brand new beautiful parking deck is 85% full in the month of August. We're like, whoa. So we're really excited about that. We're doing everything we can to keep the place really clean too. We've ramped up with our vendors to keep things clean, extra sanitation, doing the sanitizing, extra. We're promoting masks. It's a requirement to be here. President Biden sent down an executive order and said till January 1st, you have to wear a mask in the airport, not only just on the plane, but in the airport as well. But we're trying to we're trying to do it the Charleston way, right? We're not finding people. We're not giving them a hard time. Traveling can be a very stressful thing, Quintin, as you know. And so, I traveled some in July with my family for the first time since the pandemic. And, I've got two little boys, my wife, we're carrying luggage, we're parking the car, we're making sure that one of them doesn't forget the iPad, and here's a charger, and got to have your boarding passes, and all this stuff, right? When it's a family of four, and it's easy to forget, I left the mask on the dash of the car, or it dropped out of the kid's pocket, or he lost it, whatever, right? So we got folks, our police officers, our customer service folks, our ambassadors, they're all walking the terminal with masks in their pockets. And as people come in, if they forgot it, or they stand there, or they just forgot to put it on, our folks come up to them and said, hey, don't forget you got to wear a mask. If you forgot yours, here's one. Right. So we're handing them, we're not giving them a hard time. Here, you might have forgotten this. Here, have a free mask. And we're the friendliest city in the world, right? And so we got to have the friendliest airport in the world. In a lot of ways, the first and last impression of many people will ever have of Charleston, South Carolina happens in the airport. So we have to do what we can to make it a very pleasant and wonderful experience. And so we're trying to be very friendly. We're trying to help people get through. We're working hard with TSA to help people get through the line quickly as possible, quick but safe. I think that the number one thing we can do as an airport is have a very healthy and safe environment. That's the number one priority of an airport, in my opinion. And I think we're doing a pretty good job at it. We get a lot. There's going to be the occasional snafu, right? You can't help it. It's just human nature. There's things that happen.
Yes.
Somebody, a machine breaks, an X-ray machine breaks down, or something goes on. But I think our employees are doing everything we can to make it a very good and safe and efficient experience.
You talk obviously about Charleston being really the friendliest city in America, and you have the friendliest airport that is in North Charleston. And you talked earlier about the airline partners. I got to talk to you about Breeze Airways. I'm so excited about Breeze Airways. It's here in Charleston. And I'm constantly on the website where it has $39 round trip.
It's incredible, Quintin. I mean, so crazy. So this weekend I was supposed to fly to New Orleans.
Right.
Our next door neighbor's son just took a medical residency at Tulane.
Right.
And so his dad was like, "Hey, let's go see Matt. Now that y'all got this direct flight to New Orleans, let's take this direct flight. Let's go catch a Saints-Giants game," because they're Giants fans. And we'll take Matt to the game. Of course, the hurricane changed all that, so we can't go. But round trip, $69. I'm like, really? Are you serious right now? And they're great planes. They're super friendly folks. That's been a game changer for us. When I could go on for hours about Breeze, but long story short, they added 20,000 seats a month to our inventory. 7 new destinations we don't currently fly to, 11 total. They're housing crew members, pilots, and mechanics here in Charleston, South Carolina. That's a first. That's the first time that any airport in South Carolina has been the base, because they don't call it a hub, the base of operations for an airline. That's a big deal. That's an economic development big deal too, okay? Because what comes with that are good high-paying jobs and opportunities for folks in Charleston, South Carolina to work customer service, work the jet bridge, be airline attendants, train to become pilots. That's a big deal for us. And I'll tell you, year 2, I have no reason to believe that they won't double their amount of employees here and double their amount of flights. They are very happy with Charleston. Their bookings are very strong going into the holiday season. Can't say exactly what. I will just leave it at there's big news to come with our buddies at Breeze. But, not to make the other airlines jealous, we've been working really hard with our Southwest and United and American and Delta and JetBlue. They're adding flights too. I mean, if you look at how things have progressed, United has come into Charleston in a very major way. We're very excited about what they're doing. They've added direct flights to many, many places we didn't go before. So we're constantly adding. I think since July of last year, we've added somewhere around 20 new destinations direct. And that means a lot for our tourism industry, but it also means a lot for the business community. The direct flight between JetBlue for us between here and LA, we fly daily to LA now. We're the only airport in South Carolina that with a West Coast flight, and we've got 2 of them. We're daily to LA. We're 4 times a week with Alaska Airlines to Seattle. That's a big deal for the port.
Yes.
The Port Authority drives so much of our economic development in the state. And now, their customers in Asia, it's easier for them to get here. It's easy when COVID gets done, it'll be easier for the port to call on their customers over there, because LAX is a gateway to Asia. Just like Heathrow is the gateway to Europe. We're hoping, British Airways tells us they're going to be back in 23. That's a long way away, but they got devastated during COVID. The UK did not take care of their airline like our government took care of theirs, and so they had to lay off 25,000 folks at British Airways, and so they're rebuilding. They got to handle what they're doing, in Europe first before they can get back over here. But we're very confident they're coming back. So the Breeze, David Nealman is a dynamo. That guy is amazing. This is his 5th airline startup. He started JetBlue.
Oh.
And everybody knows the success of JetBlue.
Right.
He's the guy behind Azul, which is the airline in Brazil. And so he just ordered 30 more planes. I mean, it's incredible.
Very
incredible.
Absolutely. And what is your current inventory?
As far as flights?
Yes, sir.
So it changes month to month, but we certainly we are good Lord, for this month coming up, it slows down a little bit. We'll be running at probably about 90% of what we normally run, but it trickles back up come holiday season, goes back down in January, February, but about the time Seaweek happens, so around Valentine's Day, the season takes back off again. So we're really not as seasonal as like a place like Myrtle Beach, for instance, but we have these small little increment ups and downs. But come February, mid-February, it is wide open here. I think our biggest thing is going to be having to figure out whether we got to build another parking garage or not. I mean, it was 85% full in the month of August.
Wow.
The new one.
Yikes.
Yeah. And it is beautiful, by the way.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
And easy. And we started valet parking back.
Right.
That's a big deal, too.
Big deal, too. Speaking of Myrtle Beach, Elliott, how strong is your airport's competition from other nearby and larger airports for passenger and air cargo services?
So Myrtle Beach is second to us in the state. Greenville's third. Myrtle Beach, they do a good job up there. They've got some good folks, some former folks that were here before. Our former executive director, Sue Stevens, is doing airline recruitment for them up there. Sue's phenomenal, super lady, very smart. But they do a good job up there. They're more of a tourist-based seasonal stuff. I think they're trying to get away from that. They're pushing Southwest getting in there is a big deal for them. So they're doing a really good job. Air cargo is more of the Columbia Airport, Greenville. We desire though to get into that game in a bigger way. We've got some plans, and we've had some conversations with some end users for air cargo. Certainly, everybody is e-commerce has changed everything in the air cargo business and the shipping business for that matter. So we constantly have conversations about that. We're kind of restricted on land out here at CHS. We have a lot of land, but because of Joint Base Charleston, we're kind of restricted on a lot of aviation easements and those sort of things. But we're working. We've got a great partner with JBC. Colonel Green over there is fabulous. They're having an air show April 5th, by the way, which will be awesome for this community. It was been since I was a little kid since I've been to the air show, but I am so jacked up about it coming. It is really cool when the Air Force does those sort of things and really integrates the community with what they do. Couldn't be prouder of those men and women over there. Watching what they did, watching CNN, watching Fox News, whichever one you watch, seeing them flying refugees out of Afghanistan, seeing those Charleston tales. Clearly Charleston, South Carolina, it gives me goosebumps talking about it. Our folks, on the world stage, I can literally look out of my window and I can see them from here, right? And it just makes you so proud of them, and we're just so proud of their partnership. But because they're there, we have to be a little more restrictive on what we do in the airfield.
Right.
We got to protect that base. That base is vital to this community and to the mission, overall mission of the United States military. So we're very conscientious of that. But we're doing more. We're going to do more with air cargo. We're pushing that envelope a little bit. But we really our major mission is passengers, more flights. This airport is kind of unique. It's an economic development engine that also creates a great quality of life. It's really where those two things kind of intersect, which is fun. It creates jobs. There's about 2,100 people in total that work out here at the airport. Not all for the government. That's your airlines and your airline handlers and your vendors and your concessionaires.
Right.
So it creates jobs, good paying jobs. We had a lady from Hertz just retired, 35 years she's been here at CHS for hers. 35 years.
Wow.
Right? Always with a smile on her face, sweet as she could be, created a great living for her and her family. But at the same time, the more flights we have, the more destinations we have, the more opportunities it is for our folks to be able to go see the world, to be able to go take their families on vacation, for that business person to be able to connect with a vendor. We have a direct flight to Milwaukee, Detroit now. I mean, really? I mean, so the vendor who's calling on Daimler for the Sprinter van can now go call on Ford and GM.
All in Detroit.
It makes the world a smaller place, and it creates business opportunities for those folks as well, which also creates further jobs. So it's that intersection between quality of life and economic development that is so cool, and I'm just thrilled to be part of it.
And are airlines using less fuel but spending more in your mind?
They buy a good bit of fuel from us here in South Carolina because our fuel tax is notoriously low. I'm encouraging them to go to bigger equipment. So a lot of the planes you see coming here are the smaller regional jets. Now Southwest flies exclusively 737s, but you're seeing United, Delta, American, that you see them start to transition some into this into a larger plane, and so that will help them with their efficiencies on cost. We've got one of the lower cost per passenger employment number in the country, so they make a good bit of money when they come to Charleston. Charleston is a very strong financial market for these airlines. They realize that. That's why they're here. I mean, it's not just because. Listen, we live in the most special place in the world. If you don't believe me, ask me again. I'll tell you again. But we also do a good job here at the airport of keeping their costs down. We make great money here at the airport. We're very profitable. But we keep the costs down. We reinvest that money back into our people and into our facilities to help create a good, financially feasible opportunity. It's another reason why Joint Base Charleston is so important to us. Those runways are maintained by JBC. We're blessed with that. A lot of airports they have to maintain their own runways, which are extremely expensive. But instead of pocketing that kind of money and taking advantage, we keep that cost down. We don't charge for diversions here. So you see a lot of diversions come here, medical or security diversions. If a flight's coming, we had one last week, medical emergency, a New York to Miami flight, coming down the East Coast. Poor lady started having chest pains. Fell out in the plane, boom, they're on the ground in Charleston. We got our folks, we got Charleston County EMS, everybody, boom, right on top of them. But we don't charge the airlines for that. A lot of airports charge for that because there is some cost to us for it, but we think two things. One, we're the friendliest place in the world. Two, if someone's in distress, it's our job to make sure that they're okay, no matter if they're our passenger or not. It's just a right human thing to do. Moral thing to do. And three, it also, those folks that are inconvenienced, those airline folks and the passengers, if they have a good experience when times are bad, imagine what kind of experience they can have when they come here for leisure. And so we always try to roll out that red carpet for folks, but we do the little things like that to try to help make sure people understand that Charleston's a place they want to come and a place they want to visit.
How do you see airlines having a conservative approach to growth by deferring aircraft deliveries?
Obviously, one of our larger tenants next door doesn't like that. Certainly, they want to deliver planes, and a healthy Boeing is a healthy South Carolina. They've got 8,100 wonderful, happy people working over there, most of which live in the Tri-County area. If I had to rank the top three things I've ever accomplished in my political life, Boeing being just, and there was a lot of people involved that made that Boeing thing happen. There's some people who like to take credit for Boeing. I like to say that I was at the table and I did what I was asked to do, and I did my little part. There was a lot of people doing little parts to make a big thing happen. It was a big team effort. Certainly, Senator Leatherman Representative Harrell, Speaker Harrell when he was here, Senator McConnell, Secretary Hitt, Nikki Haley, they did the lion's share of the heavy lifting. The county got to be part of that. So we're proud of that. Certainly. I'm proud of that. But we want them back delivering planes. They've started delivering them slowly. But, the airlines got to do what they got to do. I mean, it's really weird to me what's happened not only in the airline industry, but the automobile industry as well, about the trickling in of inventory. It creates pricing problems. It creates inconvenience. But, the airlines have their stockholders to report to. They're going to do the right thing financially to keep them afloat. They've received, in talking to some of them, they're conscientious about the amount of money they've received from the federal government in PPP and in the CARES Act, and they want to make sure that they're being as responsible as they can be to the taxpayer and to the stockholder. So I respect what they're doing.
And as you know, naturally, airlines are changing and shifting to prioritizing routes that are more profitable. How can you ensure that operational costs remain low and planes are actually filled?
So we do our part. We try to do more with less. We were blessed during COVID. We didn't have to furlough anyone. We didn't lay anyone off. But we did a really good job of doing the most with our CARES Act money. Instead of going out and spending it on frivolous capital projects, we paid debt down. We said, okay, we're going to start paying down our bonds, which reduces our operational number. We have to make that bond payment every year for our parking deck and for some other things. And so we said, you know what? It takes roughly about 3,500 passengers a day, enplanements a day to break even here at CHS. So we know exactly what it costs us to break even. But when we pay our bond payments down, it actually brings us down to about 2,700 passengers a day. So during COVID, that was a much more attainable number for us to actually break even. We actually were in the black in 2020, which is most airports can't claim. It wasn't a lot. It was $150,000, but we were still able to, by reducing that debt, keep that operation number down, which transitions to your ticket prices into what it costs an airline to operate. Our airlines, our what they pay is based upon a lot of what we charge them based upon our cost. So we've done a really good job. Our staff's done a really good job. Hernan Pena, we've got a new CFO, Brandy James, who's fabulous. She's done a really good job for us. They do a real good job of keeping that operation number down and doing more with less. We've got great employees who really care and love this organization.
And what exactly are your capital projects now?
So we're getting ready to kick off several. Certainly, we started the planning exercise for new Concourse C, which will be a brand new concourse for us. It'll take about 5.5 years to plan, design, and build. That's a roughly $250 million project. We need to expand our apron where our planes park overnight. Overnight planes are a big deal for us. The more planes that are parked here overnight means the more destinations in the morning. So those planes park here, they unload folks, they stay here overnight, they're empty, but they leave full. And that's important for us. We don't charge for that either. We don't charge for them to sit here overnight as an incentive to the airlines, that, as you talked about, helping them with their costs. That's one of the things we do. We also are looking at a potential ticket hall expansion. As you know, if you come into the front door of CHS, every ticket counter is taken. Some are taken by multiple airlines. We use a common use system, but we need a bigger TSA hold room, in my opinion. As we look at the potential growth over the next 3 years, we're going to need a bigger TSA area. We're going to need more lanes, and we're going to need a bigger ticket hall. So we're looking at that. That's probably a $50 million project. Apron's probably another $25 million. So we're going to be well over $300 million of the projects over the next 5 years, but we're going to make sure that the numbers justify that. We're watching the Delta variant. We're watching, all these variants, the COVID variants, and making sure that, Lord forbid, we have what we had back March, April of last year when we had to shut everything down. we're watching out. We're not going to get out over our skis. We're going to make sure that we're incrementally stepping into this, and hopefully, by the time the planning exercise stuff's done, mid first quarter, late first quarter next year, that COVID's behind us.
Now, what
Everybody
numbers?
get a shot. That's
Okay.
the biggest thing we can do, right?
Okay. And what are the numbers are you looking at right now?
So we look at our passenger employment number, but right now the pre-bookings are very strong till the end of the year. So we're very confident it's going to keep up, notwithstanding a COVID issue. If as long as people getting vaccinated, I mean, I've got my booster. I didn't need the FDA to tell me it was okay. I get a flu shot every year, and I have since I was a kid. I believe in that. I think it's important, and I think it's it's the responsible thing to do. I'm excited now that that they're letting kids get it. My wife and I live in fear. My youngest has a respiratory birth defect. We live in fear of what would happen if he got COVID. Now we're not wrapping him in bubble tape. We're gonna let him be a kid. He's playing sports and he's going to school. He's wearing his mask at school. That's our choice. And because of his underlying health conditions, we think that's the right choice. But we're letting him live his life and be a little boy too. You can find balance. This whole politicizing thing of masks kills me. The Bible says everything in moderation, right? And so I think we have to get back to just caring about people and talking about people, talking with people, communicating. Not everything has to be political. Certainly masks, vaccines shouldn't be. But those things are going to drive what happens here at this airport. Those things are going to drive how well we do and how well we continue to do and how our numbers look, which will drive the decision-making process on how fast we move with new capital projects.
And what's the air service development and retention strategies that can stimulate demand and actually sustain it at your airport?
So we put together an incentive program. It's a complicated matrix of things, but long story short, depending on we have certain places we know are strategic cities and locations that we strive to go to. We publish that to all the airlines and say, hey, if you guys will give us a direct flight to Las Vegas or a direct flight to Nassau or San Francisco or another flight to JFK, we will help incentivize you by reducing the cost, the first year costs on the operation side, but also invest in the marketing of those flights. So we partner with the CVB, and they help market Charleston. Let's say, I don't know, what's a great example? Las Vegas. We'll go back to Las Vegas. Let's say, hey, United says we're going to start direct flights to Las Vegas. Okay, fabulous. That's one of the places we know we want to go. We will sit down and negotiate with them a reduced rate on their fees for the first year, which the FAA allows, and then we'll take a portion of money with the CBB, and they will go into Vegas and they will advertise Charleston in Vegas publications and on billboards and those things. Come to Charleston, come to Charleston, come to Charleston. And so that's really kind of how that air incentive program works. But it has worked well. I mean, we have 3 airlines that fly to Denver now that, 2 years ago, we didn't have any direct flights to Denver. United, Southwest, and Frontier all fly to Denver. And they were only going to do it seasonally. It's so popular, they're doing it year-round. And it's a large portion of the marketing that gets done in Denver. Come to Denver, folks, come to Charleston. We also market the fact that you can go to Denver and Charleston now, so those planes are full. The LA flight,
Right.
That LA flight's full. It's amazing to me. They go daily to LA.
Wow.
It's incredible.
That's incredible. And absolutely. And how is your airport, Elliott, adjusting to the TSA policy and customer service?
We're blessed that we have a really good TSA director in South Carolina. Dave McMahon is our FSD. He oversees all of the airports in South Carolina. Born and raised in James Island. Left and ran the TSA in Minneapolis Airport, St. Paul Airport, big airport, much bigger than ours. he's towards the end of his career, and he's got back home, and now he's over all of South Carolina. But he preaches niceness and safety to all of his folks. It is incredible, his leadership. You talk to any of the airport directors in South Carolina, they'll tell you, Dave McMahon and his group really push. You can be safe and firm, but fair and nice at the same time. And it's really great. They are, I have people all the time that'll email me, or they'll call up to the front desk, or they'll send in a note on social media and say, we just had the most fabulous experience at TSA. Your people are doing a good job. And I say, man, I wish I could claim them as my folks. I'll copy Dave and say, this is the guy you need to thank. We're blessed to have you. We're blessed to have them. And, we try to have that good customer service here. We preach that with all of our concessionaires. But TSA does a really good job for us. I'll tell you, I feel like now that I got a real behind the scenes look, I feel like we got one of the safest airports in the country. I really do. They take it really serious. All law enforcement folks take it really serious here that work for us here at Aviation Authority PD. We've got a brand new K9 program that we started when I got here. We've got a bomb dog, 2 narcotics dogs. They have confiscated a lot of drugs, a lot of money, automatic weapons. They've done a really, really good job. And I'll tell you, we get lots of compliments from the TSA folks on our law enforcement folks. And so I feel like we got one of the safest airports in the country. And I put our TSA agents and our law enforcement folks up against anybody. They're a small group, but they're mighty.
Mighty, absolutely. And speaking of government, how much has the FAA user fees gone up by?
I'm not really sure what that is right off the top of my head, but it hasn't been incredibly large. It hasn't been over the top, though.
And how much will fuel costs rise by in the next 5 to 7 years?
Oh man, who knows? I mean, I went and put gas in the truck yesterday, and I have a diesel, 2500 diesel, and 33 gallons was over $100. And man, yeah, I don't know. We've got to do something though, and I don't know what the answer is. One side talks about the pipelines, the Keystone pipelines. The others talk about not being, so dependent on foreign oil. I don't know, but that's going to be a big deal for all of us, whether it's the airline industry, the automobile industry, public transportation. Those are all big costs. I know, the more we can get that number down, the better off it is, because that, costs in this business are like any other business. It's going to trickle down to the end user. And so my hope is that the federal government figures that out, how we become less dependent on it, less dependent on others who produce it, and keep our costs down so we can actually, keep surviving as transportation is the key to this country. I don't care if it's an airplane or an 18-wheeler. It doesn't move without it. So we got to do it. We got to figure it out.
And how is your airport preparing for airline consolidation in the future?
So we keep a constant conversations going with all our airline partners. We've got a great team that does that. We will adjust as necessary. But I mean, you see with Breeze, new airline coming out of the ground. There's been 3 startup airlines in this country during a pandemic. So I'm not so concerned about it. I think it will be okay. Certainly, the strategic partnerships you're seeing with some of the airlines, Alaska and American with British Airways, that's really a good thing, in my opinion, because that creates some efficiencies for those airlines. It helps create some efficiencies for us in our physical plant. So, like the ticket hall, those guys can now share space, so that helps. So, we think that's going to be a good thing.
And what is the FAA support of air traffic management right now?
They're very supportive. We again, another group we keep in constant contact with. We deal with a group out of Atlanta more than DC, but they've been very supportive of what we want to do here. They're happy that we're growing like we are. They want us to prosper. They want all airlines and airports to prosper. So they've been very good partners with us so far. COVID was difficult because you couldn't meet in person. So the FAA site visits were few and far between, but they're back to doing that again. And they've been very supportive.
And what is that regulatory risk, Elliott, and impact on changing CASA structures?
So, obviously, the more regulation you have, the harder it is to do business. But they've been very transparent about how the processes are going to work. While we go through this planning process on Concourse C, for instance, that's very important to the FAA is very important to our process. We have to go through. There's a lot of boxes we have to check in order to be eligible for AIP money, which is money that helps us pay for these things. We'll be going for a 25-75 match with the FAA. 25 from us, 75% from them. It's a competitive process for the new concourse, but we'll be very confident. FAA has been really great to deal with. We've not really had that much of an issue, and we haven't seen that create a cost problem for us yet.
And what are those unfunded mandates in the airport?
So really, we don't have a lot of that. Because of CARES, there's been 3 rounds of CARES money that's come down that helped us pay for extra cleaning. It's helped us pay for masks. It's helped us do all those things. So, I have to admit, they've been good to us. The FAA, the government, the feds, TSA, Homeland Security. We've got a lot of federal partners here. They've all been fabulous, and we've, like I said, the first round of CARES Act money created a situation where we could actually pay down some of our debt. I can't argue with that.
Yes, sir. And 1 year later, who is Elliott Summey as director of the Charleston International Airport?
He's a happy guy to be here. Quintin leaving the county was a big decision for me. There was a lot of people I loved there, still love there. And because Dad served there were a lot of people that I served with that were there when he was there, when I was a child. And so in a lot of ways, there are some folks there that helped raise me. Beverly Craven, God rest her soul, is a lady I miss daily. There's a picture of her sitting right there. There's a picture of my mom, and there's a picture of Beverly. I miss Beverly a lot. I miss Kristen Salisbury, who you know. Kristen, she was a couple years behind me in high school. So there's a lot of people there, a lot of folks in the police department and EMS, Public Works, Jim Armstrong. There's people there that I've known all my life, and leaving there was not running for re-election was a difficult decision to make, but it was the right decision. I'm a happier father. My kids are happier. My wife is happier. I have more of a normal schedule. I got to go to meet the teacher Thursday night. And Quintin, I missed most of those.
Wow.
I'm going to get emotional about it. I missed most of that, right? Because Thursdays and Tuesday nights were county council night, and I felt I had a responsibility to be there and to do my job. Jackson was born my first year in office. I always watched my dad always find a way to be there. And so that was my job. And being here, I am a happier father. I am a happier man. I'm a happier husband. And I love this airport. I love the people here. I can't tell you how proud I am of the people who work here. They go the extra mile. And this is a happy place and a cool place to work. And I'm just so excited and so optimistic about the future of this airport, because I really truly believe that we could be a real big catalyst for quality of life for the folks who live here. We can be a great catalyst for economic development for the folks who work here. And I take it real serious how people feel about Charleston, South Carolina, that visit here. I'm very prideful of where we live. And I think that we have an opportunity here at this airport to be that shining star of how you treat people when they come in and out of this airport and come out of this community. And I'm a guy who's just blessed and very thankful. Very thankful.
And speaking of which, let me ask you the obvious. How well positioned is your airport to move into the future?
I think we're in great shape. We've got great leadership. Hernan Pena and Spencer Pryor are two of the greatest public servants and leaders and men that I know. I'm blessed that they're here. You know, it's hard to drive around the city of Charleston, which I know you love. It's hard to walk or drive around and see anything great that's happened in the last 25 years and not think of Joe Riley. Well, who was at Joe Riley's side for all that? Hernan Pena. He's quietly and doesn't get a lot of credit for a lot of great things. Joe Riley always gave him credit. And I've always told him, you know, he worked for the master. I mean, Joe Riley was the greatest. And I don't say this lightly because of my father. He's probably the greatest mayor in the history of our country. You know, Dad's probably the second greatest, right? But certainly Joe Riley, I mean, if you think of the personality that Charleston had, it was reflective of Joe Riley's personality. That caring, compassionate, wonderful man was this city reflected through him. And Hernan was there for the aquarium and Joe Riley Park and Waterfront Park and all the wonderful things that the mayor did. Hernan was there right there with him.
Yes.
And Spencer is a special human. I've known Spencer Pryor literally all of my life. Literally all of my life. And no offense to Teddy, Spencer's my favorite Pryor. Okay? God bless him, love him. And how supportive he was of Reggie Burgess and Dad, and how much caring Spencer has. His love for people just exudes.
Yes.
And that translates into the workplace.
Yes.
So I'm blessed to have these two guys. Again, but we've got a wonderful, diverse group of employees in leadership that are ready to take this thing to the next level. Financially, we're in really good shape. Doug Boston and Paul Campbell before me did a wonderful job of setting this place up financially to be able to take to the next level. You know, as far as I'm concerned, the table is set. All we have to do is execute. And we're going to do it. And we're going to do it in a big way.
Yes, indeed. And when I need a problem, I'm going to call Spencer Pryor and Action Line.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely. And I promise you, he'll be the best dressed guy on the phone.
That's him.
Compete. I told him I'll tell you. I'm in my khaki pants and my golf shirt. I cannot compete with Spencer. I give it up a long time ago. That guy, sharp as a razor, man.
Yes, he is. He is. Well, Elliott Summey, thank you for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Oh, thanks for having me, Quintin. Thank you for what you do, too. I mean, you do a very fabulous job keeping people informed. It is always a pleasure to talk to you. God bless you, buddy. And I hope we talk soon, but if not, hope you have a good holiday season, man, and enjoy the fall. Fall is my favorite time in Charleston. The weather gets good and the fish start biting. So bless you, buddy, and stay safe out there when you're running around. I know, be careful out there. We love you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.